everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a video that I've been kind of like hiding in my head for a while, just like slowly planning it out. But I am very excited to talk about it because I also wanted to bring up one of the debates that isn't like super intense on the bookish internet, but it does come up every once in a while, and that is rereading books. People sometimes, the debate usually is, do we count these books towards what we've read throughout the year or not, specifically on Goodreads? But I also wanted to chat about the fact that some people find it really hard to reread books because, like myself, there's just so many books out there that are coming out that are like there's so many coming out every week. There's new books to come out, so we are constantly behind on the books that we want to read, and then we're sitting here going, but I also want to reread books because like they're my favorite stories and I want to live in them for a long time. And I think that I personally count my rereads to my Goodreads challenge simply because you're still reading a book. Even if it isn't the first time, you're still consuming it. Read however you want to read. I don't care. Count it towards your goals. So there's that, but also the fact that rereading books, yes, it does eat into the time that I want to spend reading new things, but there's just something about returning to a story and either reading it more in depth or reading it in a different way, a different medium. So like if you read it physically the first time, reading it by like audiobook or vice versa, or reading it from like ebook to physical or like, you know, like just changing up the style, or even if you just want to reread it and see like if you had taken notes in the first time you read it, like to see those notes and like what you were thinking the first time you read it. Like there's something so delicious and pure about rereading books. And I think that we should normalize it, make it something that we do without really any fear of missing out on other stuff. Because I feel like that's a huge thing on booktube, is that there's just this constant fear that we're missing out on new things, new releases, the trends that are going around, the big books and all that kind of stuff. But I myself have jumped on the bandwagon of just getting caught up in the rat race of like just trying to keep up, trying to read over 100 books every year, trying to like just read constantly. And if I don't read more than like 8 books a month, I consider it a bad reading month for myself, because I usually can read like 12 to 15 books a month. And there are times when I need to stop and reread books that I love. And I don't know how well that little rant went over, but that's okay, because we're just gonna dive into the video, because I don't know even what I just said. But there are a few books, many books, as you can tell by this stack, that I have been wanting to reread, or that I have decided that I would love to reread one day. These are all books that I have never reread, because there are many more books that I have already reread that I would love to reread constantly. Like for example, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I've reread that one 3 times, and I will always consider that one of my favorite books and always reread it because it feels like home to me. Or the Percy Jackson series. I would love to reread that one for the 3rd time. And because I reread that one for the first time last year. Like there's books that I've already reread that I just want to keep returning to because they just make me so happy. And I think that is what we should take out of doing things, especially when we're reading, that we love to do, instead of just what everyone else is doing and what we feel like we should be doing to keep up with this whole craziness that is the book internet. So without further ado, let's dive into this list of books that I would like to reread. Alright, so number 1 on this list is my favorite book of all time. I'm claiming it, and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This book, as you guys very well know, is just on my channel all the time. And I love this thing so much, and I just want to reread it. I think this one I would like to reread whilst listening to the audiobook, because it is a full cast audiobook, and I think that would just be a fantastic way to dive back into the story because I read it physically, really slowly, and I annotated it, and I just, like, I left notes to myself, I did little doodles, like the stars on this page, like, I just would love to be able to revisit this story in a different way, perhaps to see if it adds anything to the story for me, but I love this story so much, and it is just a delicious slice, and I don't care how long it takes me, but I would love to reread this, possibly this summer. Don't know when, but definitely this one. The second one is another book that is on my channel a lot because it is another favorite of mine, and that is Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. This book is just a slice of my soul in fiction. It deals with music and heartbreaking sibling relationships and just a touch of fantasy and a touch of historical. And I just adore that about it, and I would love to reread this to see if I missed anything the first time around. I will definitely be reading it probably the same way that I did the first time, which is this in my hands and Mozart's music playing around me, because that just seemed very fitting for this one. But yes, I would love to reread this one day. I talked about 2 books and I'm already parched. So the third and the fourth book that I'm going to talk about kind of go together. I never ever would have thought that I would reread romance, but this is one romance that I would love to go back into just to experience it again, and that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Thalia Hibbert. This is a love story about Chloe who makes a list, and she wants to basically get her life together and make her life a little bit more interesting. And one thing on this list, moving out of her family house, leads her to meet Redford Morgan, the most beautiful man I've ever met in a book, and their romance proceeds from there. And going along with that, the next book is One Day in December by Josie Silver. I would love to read this around Christmas time, as I did the first time I read this, and I am more than willing to put myself through this emotional turmoil again, because it's one of those books that I want to read again because I feel like I missed a lot, but also I just would like to experience the relationships again, and I don't know, it's one of my favorites. So the next one on this list is actually one that I read in university, and it is one of the only university reads that I would want to reread again, besides like Pride and Prejudice and other Jane Austens, because I had an Austen class in my last year of university. But this one I read for Canadian literature class, and it is A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. And this book, I think, is my favorite read out of university. I couldn't help loving this book. It is heartbreaking, it is beautiful, it is painful, because it deals with this girl who writes a diary, and the diary is found by a lady off the shores of I believe Victoria Island. Finds Now is the girl. They found Now's journal, her diary, and it's about how Now wants to kill herself, but wants to tell the stories of her grandma first. But it also gets intermingled with her life and her sadness and why she wants to kill herself. And then it follows Now's story in the time that she's writing these diary entries, and then it follows Ruth. Who finds these diary entries and her life as well. So it's just heartbreaking and poignant as hell, and I just really like it, and I would like to revisit it and see if I missed anything the first time I read it. But it was so good. And as I'm flipping through, I remember I wrote an essay on this, so there's like a lot of annotation. But yes, definitely would love to reread that sometime. And the next 2 books actually go together, and I want to reread these because I read them in a method that is just all-consuming and really fast, and I missed so much. So if you guys remember, I read BookTube's favorite duology in 24 hours, and that is the Six of Crows duology. So these books are great. I really enjoyed these. They are BookTube's favorite duology for a reason, I think. And this is just, I would love to reread these because I know I missed stuff. Like, I 100% know I did. Because I listened to the audiobook for Six of Crows on double time speed and this one on like 2.5 speed to be able to read them in 24 hours, and I know I missed stuff. And I don't have great recall, so just to be able to recall these books in a way that would be more doable for just life, because I don't know what I'm saying. I would like to be able to remember these books without just like consuming them and then having them leave my brain really fast. But anyways, the next one that I would like to reread is a classic, and I just loved it the first time I read it, and that is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I would like to reread the entire Lord of the Rings saga as well, or trilogy as well, but I've read the first one already, so I was just like, we'll just talk about The Hobbit today, because The Hobbit is a little concise standalone adventure that I just love, and I would love to be able to reread this. I think I would like to reread this one with the audiobook, because Rob Inglis, who does the Lord of the Rings trilogy audiobooks, also does this one, and it sounds like I listened to his audiobooks when I was reading the second and the third in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and it feels like I'm sitting at like my grandpa's knee being told a story, and I just love that experience so much. So I think I will reread this one with the audiobook probably pretty soon, because I just want to revisit this world really badly. And keeping on the classics train, I am gonna dive into like fully classics, like Victorian era classics, and talk about some Austens. Specifically Emma by Jane Austen, because this book, I want to reread this so badly. I read it for the first time in university for my Austen class, and I really liked it. Like, I liked it. Didn't really like Emma a whole lot, but I liked her by the end a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I really enjoyed the narrative between her and Knightley, and it was just a great time. And then this year, when the movie came out, I just absolutely adore that movie, and I think that is now my favorite Austen adaptation movie ever. And I say that, and I haven't really watched a lot of Austen adaptations, but I think it's my favorite movie that I've seen, because it is just so funny and so aesthetic, and it just captures the mood of this book so perfectly. But yes, I would love to reread Emma. I also would love to reread Sense and Sensibility, but I'm already rereading that one as I'm speaking, so I didn't want to like feature it in this video. And I would like to reread Northanger Abbey as well, but this one is like on the top of my list after Sense and Sensibility, of course. But yes, this one for sure. The next one is a beast. I read this one. I picked it up physically for like the first 150 pages, and then I decided, because I knew it was going to take me a long time to read it, I decided to pick up the audiobook through Audible, and I listened to that for the rest of the book. And so I would love to reread The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon physically all the way through, because again, I feel like I missed some stuff by reading it on Audible, simply because like I was reading it like as I was driving or at work, and I was doing other stuff, and my brain isn't completely focused on it all the time. So I would like to read it physically again, also just because this is just fabulous. This world is incredible, and Samantha Shannon has actually talked about the fact that she's going to be writing like companion novels to it, possibly a sequel to Priory, but like in the way that you could read all of these subsequent novels that are going to be released in this world on their own, because this is a standalone fantasy novel, and she's just going to be writing more stories in the world, which I'm so excited about, because I just love the world. That is one of the things that I absolutely adore, and I hope we get to see Yad and Sabran and Tane again, because I just love them so much. This is a very precarious stack of books, but yes, so this one for sure would like to read physically one day. And the last book I'm going to talk about is actually representing the whole series, And I would love to reread these before the new book comes out, the last book. And if you guys want, I will host a read-along in the months leading up to the release in December of Sky Beyond the Storm. And that is the Ember and the Ashes series. I can't even put it up here anymore because it's not really in shot. We're gonna put it here. Here, we'll just do that. Yes, an Ember and the Ashes. This whole series I want to reread before the next one comes out because I would love, and I am planning on rereading the first 3 books in the Ember and the Ashes series before the 4th one releases in December. So if you guys would like to join me, I think I might do a read-a-thon of these 3 books that are here. So the Ember and the Ashes, A Torch Against the Night, and The Reaper at the Gates before A Storm Against the Sky, or A Sky Against the Storm, or whatever the last one is called, is released in December. I think it's early December too. But I would love to do a read along with this and do live shows. I might even search for hosts. So if any of the bookish community on YouTube wants to join me, hi, just draw me a comment or a message or hit me up on Twitter or Instagram. I'm here. But I will be probably searching for some co-hosts so that we can do some fun live streams and reread these later this year in the fall. So if you're looking for a time to read these for the first time or reread them, you just wait, because these books are so good. Hence the reason why I'm doing this video, because all the books on this list are just so good. And okay, maybe I shouldn't put Priory on the top. This is the stack of books that I would love to reread anytime soon, really. I don't know if I will get to them in 2020. I'm hoping I will get to a few, specifically the Ember and the Ashes and the Starless Sea. Would love to reread that now, forever, even though I just read it in February. But this stack of wonderful books that I want to reread. So let me know down below if you've read any of these, or if you have any books that you want to reread specifically on your shelves, because I'm always here looking for a little chatting discussion in the comments, and I love talking to you guys. So I really hope you liked watching this video. Do all the things that YouTube tells you to do, like and subscribe, join my little corner of booktube, and I will catch you guys in another video soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.